Okay, so this is the first episode, or I guess when we started numbering the episodes. So this would be episode number 10. So this is the
All right.
10th time that we've gone live. Wow.
Wow, that
It's
should be like a celebration, when
imagine
it's the
once we
100th.
get exactly once we get to 100, that should be fun. So I guess the first thing I want to address is that I know that it might sound painful on the other end. My voice was gone. Trust me, it's a lot better than yesterday. And that is why we didn't have the live stream yesterday. We ended up pushing it to today. But here we are. Um, so we'll see what kind of things we get into, like we usually do on the show. So I guess we should kick it off with maybe I'll let you update about the videos, Lee, that you posted on YouTube.
Yeah, we just put up, I guess, three new videos, four new videos. They're just little demo videos of us doing testing with our Antwerp, our robot test bed that we use for testing the Robby framework. They're kind of fun. One of them is the robot talking and showing her a little bit of personality. Then one just doing simple collision avoidance, although we need to redo the collision avoidance one so it can show it what it does after it stops. We just got it where it stops, and that's all. We can get that going. And the other one, what is the other? Oh, the other one's seeing beer bottles.
Yeah.
So it
And
shows object detection using Azure.
I think we also did the demo kit, right, Lee? The one that shows the
Yeah.
LiDAR. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We did a separate one from the demo kit of the LiDAR demo, or LiDAR
Yeah.
display too.
But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if that one got uploaded. I know that I did one, or I saw one on the demo kit and everything that it
Oh,
does.
that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When I put it up there, I thought it was the same one as the demo kit. I didn't realize it was different and thought I put the same one up twice. And then when I realized what I'd done, I never got around to going back and fixing it.
Oh, okay. Well, we got Michael.
Hey, Michael, you're our best viewer. Beams in from the. Okay, now you're mixing your fantasies here with Enterprise and the Jedi. Okay. Star Wars purists might have an issue with that, or Star Trek purists too.
Team Red for the win.
Team Red. Oh, that must be talking about Star Trek. I'm guessing that's a Star Trek reference for the red shirts. Let's see if I'm right about that. Both have Star. Well, there is that. Yeah, yeah. And then how different are Treks and Wars? I don't know. So, should we talk a little bit about business?
Yeah, let's update the audience, the huge audience that we have, Lee, about what's going on with. Yeah.
It's Michael. Well, we got our first, it looks like, real beta customer. Actually, I exchanged emails with him today, and I think he's going to actually try and do something with the framework. So, yay.
Yeah.
We can get one, we can get more.
Yeah, I guess that this is sort of going away from the business side, but kind of just updating on social media. With those videos that you uploaded, Lee, we got quite a lot. Well, it seems a lot because we haven't seen as many views
Yeah,
for a
it's all
while,
relative.
or in a while. Exactly. So I think everything is moving in the right direction. The traffic to the website flattened down a little bit. Um, and I think it has to do with the fact that we live stream on a Friday last week, and we're doing it again today. For some reason, it seems that more of the audience is available to watch the live stream more on Thursdays. Um,
Yeah, that doesn't
yeah,
surprise me. Friday night, people aren't thinking about nerd things.
yeah, and we really wanted to do it yesterday, but it's just things get in the
Just
way.
because you couldn't talk.
Yeah, and then last week it was also my fault. We had to postpone it because I wasn't home yet from my trip. So
You could have done it from Detroit. Come on.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Lee.
I was just going to say our new beta customer is kind of interesting. He's a teacher who teaches IoT in school, which just that by itself was interesting to me that they have IoT classes in public schools now. Um, and he wants to use our software to demonstrate things to his students as he demonstrates IoT to them. So that's kind of fun. It's kind of a good thing for it to get used for, and a good first customer. We've got a couple other customers, but it looks like he's going to be the first one to really use the software for something good.
Yep, and we'll keep finding them.
Yeah.
I
So
know
I
there's a lot of.
also, if anybody's on Hackster, I posted a project onto Hackster.io, um, showing Antwerp, and it's got videos and pictures and all kinds of stuff. MATLAB nerd, most likely. Yeah, I haven't talked to him about MATLAB yet, but I'll ask. MATLAB nerd would be my kind of guy.
Yep.
But I got a couple likes on it. That's something on the project.
And what was the other one, Lee, that you posted on as well? There was one that the name was similar.
Yeah, Hackaday. I
Hackaday.
built a
Okay.
project onto Hackaday also, and I put the project also onto the Trosson Robotics forum, which I'm not sure that one's as active anymore.
Mm.
IoT in schools, yeah, STEM curriculum. That's exactly right. Yeah, yeah, and this guy is a STEM class, but I guess he focuses on IoT, and then he has one of these My Cobot arms that he uses to demonstrate things to the kids in his class, and he wants me to hook up to my cobot with Robby because he's tired of using Ross, which that was cool. I liked that he was someone who doesn't want to use Ross anymore, so we're going to give him something easier to use than Ross.
That's kind of. I mean, that's kind of the same way that you started, Lee, right?
That's exactly right. I didn't want to do Ross, so I ended up spending 3 years writing my own, which, in the end, it probably would have been easier to use Ross, but I got excited.
Yeah, Antwerp will probably be running around with beer bottles right now.
That's right. And getting them from the fridge from where I wouldn't be having to get my own beer.
But that would have been too easy.
Yeah.
Okay, what else do we
So,
have?
well, I was thinking about I've talked about the data storage system before, the Robby data storage manager. I can see you coughing there. It looks like you're
Yeah, I'm
you're
muting
keeping it
myself
quiet,
and
but I can see you.
yeah.
So yeah, I was thinking about talking about the data storage system in Robby a little bit, and go into a little more depth about it than I did last time, and just focus on it. I think last time I talked about it was in the context of demoing the demo kit. So
Okay,
if you want, we can spend a little bit of time doing that.
sure. Let's go ahead and do that.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share here. Okay, let me know when you can see my screen.
I see it.
Okay. So, first I'm going to talk about, well, let's just take a quick look. So, the data storage system really is just works directly with the file system in Windows because that's one of the fastest ways you can talk to a hard disk in Windows. And it's using uh, system.io and .NET. So it's just talking directly to the operating system. And it builds this very simple little repo. And then it builds folders under the repo, and each of these is a data set that I'm going to show how to set these up here in just a second. But you can see we have a data set for kind of each of the sensors that we had on the demo kit here. So we've got the beer bottles scanning, power channel, and the LiDAR and range sensor data sets. So within, is it, you're playing that music?
Yeah, that is me. Let me
Okay.
turn it down a little bit.
It's a little loud. It's not too bad. That's better. Okay, so when you set up
There we go.
channels in Robby, one of the big things you do is you're adding these connectors that talk to the devices that are gonna be hooked to the robot, and these devices are connectors are configured. Oh, let's not do that one. Let's do a different one. Let's do the TCP connector is a good one. So these are the connectors that connect you out to, in this case, talking TCP IP to talk to anything that wants to do that protocol. They can also be to different devices like LiDAR devices or to services like Azure. Almost all of them, if they're designed to talk to a device or a service, have these two choices in their configuration down here, device logging enabled or MCP logging enabled. And if I turn these on, then this one's going to take any device messages that come through the connector are going to get logged, and any from MCP devices or messages that come through are going to get logged if I have this one checked. So I'm going to come in here and give it this name. So this name would correspond to out here, these data set names. So I'm creating, this is how I create the data sets where data from that connector is going to go into the repo. And then I can give it a page size. So this is just, boy, the way the pages work is inside of one of these. It creates these text files, and each one is a page, and it'll keep adding records into the page until it reaches the size that I specify down here in bytes. And when it does, it'll flush into that page and then start a new one. So it's very simple, little kind of straightforward data storage system. Once I've done that and I start logging data, then also in the UI, I can come here and open the Temporal Data Storage Manager, which is a pretty highfalutin name for it, but it's also accurate. Everything in here is keyed on these timestamps. I think they're 24 digits or something like that. But they resolve the time of the data of the stamp out to 1/10 millionth of a second, which is a tick, essentially a tick on the computer, which is a tick is one tick of the processor that we're talking about. So out here, I can go in and I can, let's see, let's open up the range sensor data sets here. One of the things here that's kind of interesting to look at is you see these times here on the right-hand column. One of the things you want to look for, oh dear, there goes my phone. Oh well. One of the things you want to look for is that these times over here on the left are very consistent. Like you can see that these are all within 1 millisecond of each other, except for the one, this one got flushed early because we turned off the data set, or we turned off the data speed, presumably. But you can see that the time that it took to fill the page here is almost exactly the same. They're all within 1 millisecond of each other. Actually, I guess that's 1/100th of a second, not a millisecond. That would be a centisecond? I'm not sure what you would call that. Anyway, so this is looking at the contents of a page. This is just a flat printout of the text in the page, and then I can do this and it'll format it into a little nicer JSON format. And you can see here this was emulating sensor data, so one for each of 6 ultrasonic range sensors. And then each page also has some metadata about the page. First and last timestamp, the total time that was elapsed for all the sets in the, or all the items in the page, and the name of the data set. So that's that. Let's take a look real quick here. These are kind of interesting. This one you can see I've only got 4 items per page, but that's because this is the calls out to Azure Custom Vision, sending images out across the web to do object detection with. So they're very large data items. These are like 4 megabyte base 64 data strings here. And they carry a little more information. They tell us what angle the camera was pointed at, what the tilt and angle were, tells us what format it's stored in, and what the timestamp was. And with all of these, I can push this button and I can download this to a JSON file download this page to a JSON file on the hard disk. And then one more thing we'll look at here real quick. I can also come in and push this button, and this is the synchronized dataset viewer. So what this does is allows me, so here's all the data that we've got in this repo right now, and here's the range of timestamps from the first timestamp in the repo out to the last timestamp. So I can come out here and select as many of the sets as I want. I'm going to get 3 of them here because that's what fits on the screen nicely on this computer. So I'm going to get the LiDAR logs and the beer bottle logs and the range sensor logs. And then I push this button, and here is all of the data pages that fit within the time slice that I've defined up here, which I can change this to be whatever range I want. And I can look at this data, all of it kind of coordinated next to each other in these 3 boxes down below. Now, one nice thing I can do with this is I can come select something here on the beer bottle thing and push this button. And now I'm automatically going to get the 2 items that are closest to this item in the other 2 sets. And this is something I can use programmatically. This is available when you're writing master control programs inside of Robby. So I have access to this functionality of the data storage engine. And it makes it real easy to get to sensor fusion. I can go out and say, okay, I took this picture at this instant and sent it off to, well, this is when I took it, was at this instant for this timestamp, which was at 11:37:46.767. And it's going to automatically go out here and find on the LiDAR, okay, here's what the LiDAR frame that I got closest to that same time, that same instant. So in this case, it's 11:37:46.74. So we're off by about 2/100ths of a second here. And over here, this is the closest range sensor reading I got, which is 11:37:46.68. So all of them within less than 1/10 of a second of each other. So this is data fusion going on here. Now, how you use it and if you're going to do something effective or interesting with it, a different story. But it's collecting the data and it's giving you access to the data in such a way that if I was trying to do slam or, well, lots of things that you're going to do with a robot, this is really critical stuff to be able to do here. So that's my little demo for tonight, I think. You
That
getting
is
any
pretty cool.
questions or anything? Yeah, I like that. I was happy with how that came out, and we're starting to use it now. And the more I play with Antwerp, as I get closer and closer to my goal of getting it to pick up a beer bottle, and then someday to get it to get a beer bottle out of the refrigerator for me, because that's such a important thing to have a robot do. But if I can ever make it do that, I think it'll be somewhat impressive to some people anyway.
Yeah.
We getting any questions about anything here?
There was a question not related to the demo. There was a question. Someone is asking, how can someone gain enough skills to start their own startup? So
Um,
I'm assuming that they are talking from a developer standpoint. They want to know what they need to do to be able to start a startup.
boy, I wish I knew. I think so. One of the things I'd recommend that we did that has been probably one of the most useful things we've done was Y Combinator Startup School, which is mostly a series of videos. I think 10 or 12 of them, and they're extremely good. They're really, really good. Tell you about what your priorities ought to be and how to approach things, how to approach investors. Yeah, that would be the biggest, best piece of advice I could give. And then the other thing that we've done that we're hoping is going to work well for us is we got hooked up with a yes, networking is the key to any startup. That is correct, and that's something you definitely get from talking to Y Combinator too. We've also signed up with an accelerator company that has been real helpful for us. They're helping us with getting ready to talk to investors and helping us with our pitch deck and with our financial projections and a lot of things. That's been really helpful. What Michael just said about networking, you bet. Right now, that's what I'm doing. I've been doing a lot of posting onto forums, and we're doing this and trying to make friends and get to know people here on these live streams. All of this is about networking for us. It's about for
Yeah.
getting to know people and hopefully getting to know some of the right people that there's a lot of different things that a right person might be. It might be a person who wants to use your product. That's huge when you're really early stage like this. Past employees can help. That's exactly true. Yes. Um, it's pretty much anybody that ends up connecting you in some way to something that you need to be connected to, whether it's to customers, investors, just people that are interested, people that might end up helping you with the work that you have to do, all of that stuff. And all of that comes from networking, especially early on. Um, you can't stress it enough.
Yeah. So if I may add something, I think
Yeah.
going to the question, um, I think this person is too focused on the skill level that he should have, and I mean skill level as a developer or engineer, for him
Ah,
to be able to start pursuing a startup. But I think that he might be wrong in the way of thinking that way, that he needs to feel like he's competent enough for him to start pursuing a startup. I think what's more important is for you to have an idea, the right project, that you feel that you can build a business around it. I think that's the most difficult part, because everybody has ideas all day long. The thing is being, I guess, I don't know if luck is involved here. I guess somewhat it is. You have to have an idea that is actually going to solve a problem, and it's sometimes it's difficult for that to come up, or even for people to see it. Yeah, so definitely, I think the product, the service the solution more than anything, is what matters. I think the most when it comes to a startup.
Yeah, you don't even have to know how to write it, really. If the idea is good enough and if you can sell it to the right people, then they'll help you get developers to write it. I mean, I think there's a real plus to being a developer and being ready, having a product in hand. Well, I hope there is, since that's what we're doing. Um, but yeah, that's a really good point. Another thing you mentioned there was the luck part of it. And in the Y Combinator startup school, they had a guy talked about luck, and he said a really interesting thing. He said good entrepreneurs that end up being successful make their own luck. And specifically, what he meant by that, or what he said about it, was you make your own luck by putting yourself into the situation where you have the opportunity to have luck more. So it means getting out there and putting yourself out there and getting your face out there or whatever, and taking every chance you get to talk to somebody or meet somebody or make a connection, do that networking like Michael said. Every chance you get to do that, you need to do it. And because each time you do that, you're giving yourself that opportunity to have good luck. And
Yep.
eventually, hopefully you will have some. It's not about whether I'm lucky at this moment or not. It's about how many moments do I give myself where I have the chance to be lucky.
Yep.
That was a real powerful lesson to me from that startup school. Because when I've had people 100 times say, "Oh yeah, you got to make your own luck." Well, okay, what does that mean? you know. But that was something really specific that it means that really kind of hit home with me. And that's kind of the stage we're at right now, is just trying to put ourselves out there in every direction we can find to put ourselves out there in.
Yep.
And we're starting to get some traction from it. It starts slow. That's another thing you get from the startup school, is the hardest part, bar none, is getting your first users. And boy, has that been true for us. It's just you go through this period of, oh, is anybody ever gonna do it? And we're just starting to now, but I'm starting to get hope. Be in the right place at the right time. That's right.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is put yourself in as many places that have the potential to end up being the right place as possible.
Exactly.
It's not just waiting for the right place to come to you. It's go and check out all the places and see which ones are the right place.
Yeah.
At least we'll see if all that works. that's our theory that we're working on.
Yeah. Well, it's working so far. I mean,
Yeah,
the work that
we're
you're
starting to
doing.
have some luck.
Yeah, I think, well, I know that building a product, I was going to say building the product is the easiest thing, but no, it's still not easy, but it is very difficult to get the word out to the right people.
Yeah. For
I think
me,
it's a,
building the product was much easier than this part. I can sit there and close my eyes and write C# all day long, and love it. But this going out and putting myself in front of people and stuff, I'm a nerd. I'm an introvert, so that part's more challenging for me.
yeah. So that was a good question.
Yeah, I like that question.
But I've run into that a lot where, people who are not necessarily technical. They come with an idea. It's like, hey, what do I need to learn? What languages do I need to learn? What frameworks for me to be able to build an application? And like, man, if you're gonna spend so much time learning just to build an application, you could, I don't know, maybe pay someone to do it for you, and find out if if that's viable or not. Um,
Yeah, it's like our friend George. That's another guy we know that's doing a startup. He's not coding. He has a product in mind that's a really interesting product, but he's not coding it. He's going to get coders,
and
and
he could code it if
yeah,
he
he will
really
get
wants.
coders. He
Yeah,
does code, but he's kind of past that point in his life, I think, where he does much coding. He hires coders now.
yeah.
Make configure Robby wear. Robby we are. Also be
Also,
consistent. Yeah.
yeah,
And that's something that I think is a challenge for us as we get going here, especially with just the two of us, achieving that consistency in different things. But we're getting there. We're picking it up. But like with
yeah,
the website and keeping it updated, there's so many different things you're trying to pay attention to that it's hard to kind of juggle them all in and prioritize and figure out which thing you should be working on today or at that
yeah.
moment.
For me, I think the most important thing that has been in my mind lately is, becoming consistent with these weekly live streams. And I think we're there, right? Um, Today I could have said, no, you know what, Lee, I still don't sound, well enough. We'll just push it off a week. But then, you kind of fall off the rhythm. So even though we're a
Yeah,
day late, I really wanted to do it, get on, and you know,
yeah. Even a day late is hard, but yeah, I didn't want to wait a week either. And you
Michael
don't
says
sound
like
too bad. Haven't seen the website. I will go see the website, Michael. OurRobotDreams.com.
I'm dropping a link right now.
You can tell us how sad it is. It's got
Oh,
some
by the
stuff
way,
on it.
it's running on a Windows server, just so you know.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Make my apologies now. But at least it's not ASPX pages.
Yeah, it's not web forms.
That's right.
We're moving on up. MVC.
Or just ASP pages. Ooh, that'd be bad. I wrote a lot of those ASP pages in my day.
Let's see if we have any other questions. No, nothing so far.
Well, it's Friday night again. I get to have an adult beverage tonight.
Yeah, I don't think I should yet.
Yeah, you might want to hold off. You don't want to make things worse.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna.
Um, CFM, is that Cold Fusion? Is that from back in the
CFM.
day?
I don't know. I don't think
Wasn't
that's
that
Cold
from?
Fusion. And he's saying that he's see him today. Or
Wow.
maybe that is Cold Fusion. Boy, that's a flash from the past. Cold Fusion.
Yeah. It was Macromedia, right?
I don't remember. I remember it was a web development environment that people were using way back in like the late '90s and early 2000s.
I want to say it was Macromedia. I could be completely wrong. And
That
then
sounds right. Or Macromedia was it?
yeah, Macromedia, and then they got bought by Adobe, right? They were also
Okay.
doing Flash. Remember they used to do Flash?
Oh, right. Wow, flash from the past. Michael's good for this.
Yeah,
Macromedia Dreamweaver.
yeah,
Well, now Dreamweaver, that the same thing or part of Cold Fusion?
yeah. No, no. Dreamweaver was a competitor to Front Page. Remember Microsoft's Front Page?
Okay, right. Oh yeah, front page, which was kind of a joke, but yeah, I guess it had its uses.
Yeah, and
Owns
then
both of them.
Adobe.
Okay.
Yeah, Adobe bought them, and they try to
Does
push
Cold
for.
Fusion still exist?
I'm thinking there might still be servers somewhere in some closets, Lee, that are still running.
Yeah, probably so. That was part of Cold Fusion. Okay. Yeah, Dreamweaver was okay. Wow, that's a flash from the past.
Yeah. It was. I remember that when I started doing websites, I started with Front Page, and then I hated the HTML and CSS that it produced.
Oh
Mostly,
yeah, well it's typical
it was
Microsoft
horrible.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I
bloatware.
started using Dreamweaver, and I think I like that better.
I used Notepad a lot in my first web pages. And
Really?
early on, that was one of the most recognized editors for web pages was Notepad. I mean, this
Wow.
take you back. We're talking in the mid to late '90s here, when there was barely such a thing as web pages. Actually, they'd been around for a while. SunSpark, there you go. $5,000 for what would be a $400 computer nowadays. But they did some cool things on those for their time.
Yeah.
Use VI for yeah. VI that's the Unix editor, right? The basic Unix editor, is that right? I think that's what that is. Probably showing my Unix ignorance here, of which I have plenty. My first web app, I'm ashamed to say, was VB6 on Unix system, V, then Solaris, then use Solaris. Okay. System 5. Yeah. Unix System 5 is where VI started, I think, right? Yeah, my first web app that I wrote was using NeoVim. Okay. Yeah, which is like nice, fancy VI. I used VB6 web classes, which for their day were kind of cool. They did some kind of state management. That's when you started getting the session object, which, early on in the web, there was no such thing as or state management. You didn't get any state between pages unless you built it somehow. You had to basically build your own. So we wrote a whole app using VB6 web classes, which when they came out with web forms and .NET, they kind of were a outgrowth of web classes. Only web classes, in truth, were really clunky and typical, not that great Microsoft stuff.
So this was before even ASP?
Oh, yeah. This was pre.NET. Well, actually, no, that was ASP. I'm sorry. No, it was ASP.
Okay.
First web app he wrote was PHP. Okay. Yeah, PHP much better than ASP. Of course, there weren't many things that weren't better than ASP, is the truth of it.
Yeah, was it Perl and the CGI bin when you actually started having some kind of backend as opposed to just serving static HTML? Was that like the first way to be able to do something like submit forms and things like that, or was it something?
I'm not sure. HTML. I mean, you had the form.submit, or the form that you could submit was part of HTML, but that was just submit the form, whatever was on
Yeah.
it, and shoot it back to the server, and still is. I mean, was what it is now. And that's Microsoft was all focused on that. At one point, early on, around 2004, I think I started it. I wrote an app where I did almost everything using one control in ASP, that basically I would just generate everything that was going to happen on the page on the fly at the server and then shoot it out there, which there's a couple of things like that now that do similar stuff. That was kind of interesting to me because it was kind of a full circle thing. So everything was happening on the server, but it acted more like you see pages work today because it was all interactive still. It's just that all of the processing of it, instead of working it on the client like you would with Angular or React or something like that, I was doing all that processing back on the server and then just shooting the results back in what was basically a label.
Okay.
But it worked pretty well. I did quite a few interesting things with it. It's PHP. I wrote a zip code finder. Yeah, one of my big achievements with my little thing with the labels was I wrote a Gantt chart an interactive Gantt chart. Worked really well, but everything was by basically displaying into labels on the form. Like, hey, now I like it. I like React. I like React better than Angular myself.
Yeah, me too.
Angular has its place. Angular, if you want to really do heavy processing, I think Angular is probably a little better. But I like that React stuff. I think it's cool the way it fits together and the way the pieces go together is nice. Vue now, what's Vue? Is that? I think I've heard of that.
Vue.js is it's a new. I guess it's probably the newer of the three, but it's getting popular. I hear a lot about it.
It's a JavaScript framework like Angular
Yeah,
and React. Oh, okay.
yeah.
I've been away from it for 6 months now, and that's an eternity in this business.
Well, I'll take any of those three instead of Ember. I
Yeah,
hate.
I'd take web classes over Ember. I hated Ember. Even though the most significant project I probably ever worked on was in Ember, I hated it. Still hate it. There were things I just fundamentally disliked about Ember. The idea that, especially in the early Ember, where things were dictated by their names, that just bugged me. That was like so fundamentally wrong for programming that it had to be named a certain thing.
Yeah.
Not.
I
I
wonder
guess that
if.
changed.
Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
wonder if you know companies are still using Ember. I know that Apple was using it for some of their websites or applications.
Oh, is that
I don't
right?
know if
Where did it
yeah.
come from? I don't know. I never heard where it originated, even.
I don't know. I don't know either. I know that it was a competitor to Knockout. I don't know if you remember Knockout
Oh,
JS.
vaguely. Yeah, I never
Yeah,
used it, but I do remember hearing about it.
and then Ember came out and supposedly was way better, but not in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah. Uh oh, you're looking a little peaked there, Francisco.
Okay. Michael
3D
says
holo.
that he's saying that Vue is older than React, but I don't know. I
What?
remember I was already writing stuff with React when the people started talking about Vue.
New certificate in my Mars habitat. Oh, hey, yeah. We'd like to see that. Send it to us. If it's good, we'll put it on the website. Well, are we getting about ready to let your voice have a rest?
I think so, Lee.
Let me go have my adult beverage for Friday night?
Yeah, on the
I'm too
deck.
old to do much more than that.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining
Good
episode
talking to you again,
10.
Michael.
Yeah,
Anybody
Michael.
else that showed up,
Yeah, thanks everybody for showing
we
up. And
appreciate your continued appearance at these, Michael.
yeah. Oh, okay. We have someone new.
Ah, wow.
Right on time as we were signing off.
Can you guys talk about your company or product before we go? Uh, boy, we were about to sign off, Ricardo. But what you would love for you to do is go see our website at ourrobotdreams.com, and you'll see all about the company and the product. And you can talk to us there. You can send us stuff on our contact. You can register for our beta. Go register for our beta, and we'll talk to you a lot about the company and the product.
Yeah, and
More than you want.
yeah, so I dropped the link. I dropped the link to the site in the chat. Um, yeah, also Ricardo, if you want, contact us on, social media. We're on Instagram, or leave a comment on one of the videos here in the YouTube channel. And we are going to be back. Our live stream, we're going to have the next live stream is going to be on Thursday around the same time. We usually start at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So if you want to join, if you have any questions by then, you can show up and we'll answer it on the live stream, or them if you have multiple questions.
And I promise anything, you contact us through the website, however you choose to do it, through the contact page or registering for the beta, we will be responsive and tell you anything you want to know about it.
All right. Well, Ricardo, thanks for joining, and apologies for not being able to stay longer, but we'll see you next week, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll be here next Thursday, assuming Francisco has a voice.
I will.
Yeah. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.